One. Hello, welcome. My name is Bryce Tubbs. With me today is Dr. Casey Onder. She's a career and life coach at Claire Voyage. She provides one-on-one coaching to leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs seeking to align what they do with who they are and their ideal version of success. I'm extremely excited to be able to have this conversation and to be able to share with you guys as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Casey.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything else you'd like me to add to that introduction?
No, that was great. I think the only thing to add is I was in New York and I'm in Cleveland now, so I'm close to you in the Midwest here.
Nice. So everybody has a cool story or a story in general. What were you doing before you got into coaching? What brings you into the field?
So I'm a psychologist by training. I'm an organizational psychologist. I got my Ph.D. in industrial organizational psychology, and I was actually doing leadership consulting before I started coaching, which involved a lot of assessment and some 360s, things like that. So I was sort of in a field that was very closely aligned with coaching, and I got interested because of that, because I saw people in my firm doing executive coaching with C-suite members and leaders.
Yeah. So what do you like about it? Because that's a field. Some people, you've narrowed down your niche, you know exactly who. So why'd you choose like leaders and executives?
So I work with, my clients run the gamut, and including professionals and leaders. I don't work with C-suite. I don't have that length of experience in a lot of ways. And I just identify with professionals because that's where I come from, since I was doing consulting and working, for a Fortune 500 company before that.
Nice. All right, cool. So, what problem are they generally trying to solve when you guys start working together?
So I usually work with people who have some tension or conflict in their relationship with their work. So people who are curious about making a career transition, or they're burned out, or they have questions about whether they want to be doing the same thing 10 years from now, and they want clarity on that. So it's a lot of rethinking and redesign of people's work to be more intentional and aligned with their values.
Cool. Let me ask you this question. So how do you think that people are going to go back once we are exiting this COVID-19 situation? Do you think it's going to be harder in the workplace? Think it's going to be easier? What do you think it's going to look like?
Who knows, right? But I guess how I would answer that is, I think there's going to be a lot more remote working. First of all, I think that's going to go away. So I think that's going to actually open up opportunities for people to do things they might not have, or live in areas they might not have. I also see people questioning, what they're doing, and maybe taking on a career or role that's more intentional now, because we have had time to pause and think about like what's really important to us. And I think that's going to be a huge transition for people. And I think other people are going to be scrambling financially, but I think that people let's be honest. But I also think that having such an epic, huge pandemic has also made a lot of people reflect on what's important.
Yes. So you brought up a good point, right? So balancing what's important with you with a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about how some people who are watching can do that?
How people can what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
balance, doing, more purposeful work, but maybe they are struggling financially, so they can't really take that pause in between.
Right. So most of my clients, that is not an issue. And I think for those who it is, I like to think about purpose and profit. And obviously we all need security. We have certain expenses and bills we need to pay, but how can one's work or one's non-work life be adapted so that it can generate enough energy for the person to have a life that overall is fulfilling? So even if they're not getting all their fulfillment in their work, then what are they doing outside of work
Mhm.
to satisfy those needs and those parts of themselves that maybe aren't able to be expressed in their job roles.
Nice. Can you give it like an example of like so for example, say someone's watching right now and they want to do something outside of work. Like, can you give an example of how they can start to look for options?
Yeah. So I think it's always about relationships, right? So connecting with people that are doing something similar is one of the main ways that I recommend to really understand how that person got into it, what are the resources and groups that are available. The beautiful thing about COVID times is that everything's online. So, you can access resources that maybe would be geographically specific now without having that tie. So being able to
Mm.
join groups that are national or again, networking with people that have done something similar is something that's really important. Even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, I just encourage people to really, put on the learning cap and be willing to be in that student role as they learn about other people who have made that kind of transition or explored the same areas.
Okay, that's really cool. So getting like a mentor, that's really interesting. What if someone doesn't really know, you know, what they want? How can they start to either reflect or how can they start to generate an awareness of what they actually like in their life?
Yeah, great question. So this is where I see coaching as being super valuable if you don't have clarity on that. Um, I think there are clues, there's always clues as to what energizes us and the kinds of activities or kinds of people even that make us excited. I actually just did an Instagram post on this, figuring out what you want with some practice areas. So it's hard though, right? Because if you haven't found the thing, you don't have any data to draw on.
Mm.
And so it becomes there's an element of experimentation and awareness building through coaching, through reflection, through whatever personal development you can undertake to understand what's the thing that's missing. Because if sometimes it just feels like something's missing for people, and like you said, like it's not really clear what that is. And so there is an element, you can do assessments and everything, and I've done assessments, but sometimes there's just an element of, oh, I'm curious about this thing, let me look into that. And that's where you start. just that simple. Yeah.
You know, so during this quarantine, either what are some takeaways that you've gotten or some new things that you're going to try as a result of this time?
For myself,
Yeah.
well, I enjoy what I'm doing, so I'm not going to change that.
Well, not
um
like that, but I mean, like, yeah, like, have you read books? Do you like have found anything new? I mean,
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm working on, well, one thing I did is I'm pivoting my brand. So that's actually a big, so I actually was doing mostly women's empowerment work
mhm.
before, which I still love. And the reality is I coach men too. And so I'm like, oh, that's not really like true to my, I'm not representing myself accurately. And so I've been pivoting to, I'm a conscious career coach, thinking about how people can design their lives with purpose and intention. So that's one piece. And I've been reading a little bit along the lines of marketing because now, so when I was in New York, everything was, I just meet people and coach
Yeah.
them and coaching. And now it's, I don't have that kind of connection. So the virtual online marketing piece is like something that I've been thinking about, being a virtual person in Ohio.
Yeah,
And I've done a lot more exercise.
it's different because like when you go from offline, we have that personal touch versus when you're online, it's hard to communicate that through a camera when you're starting. It's like, oh, interesting. But it's kind of switching gears, we're talking about vision. Either what's the vision for this year, for 5 years, for your life? What's the vision look like?
Yeah. So I want to live on a coast again. Although I love Cleveland, I want to move. Maybe not New York. Maybe I'll move to California. But because I have family there. But so I want to end up there. I want to have a thriving business. I want to have a long-term partnership. There's a lot of things that need to be set up in my life. I'm actually I'm in transition still in a lot of ways myself, having made the leap from my full-time role a couple of years ago. So really it's to thrive and build a business even beyond coaching, probably a consulting and coaching business, around my niche, around my brand, and yeah, and
Nice.
to thrive.
That's really cool. Are you reading any cool books right now?
I'm reading a book called It's called Story Brand. I don't think that's the whole title, but it's basically, again, it's like a marketing book, but it's around how to tell a story that your ideal customer will resonate with. Ultimately, yeah. So to describe your offer in a way that resonates with the person that your customer sees themselves as or wants to be. So coaching is obviously all about empowering people to be their best selves. So it's really aligning that hero story, if you want to call it that, with the person that I'm trying to reach, which is a person who wants to live on purpose and to really grow.
Nice. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Let me ask you a question. So, because one of the things that you were helping people with is like success and like defining success for them. So,
Yes.
what does success mean to you?
Success to me, success means tapping into the things that I do naturally, and really well, and using those to help people break out of patterns that are limiting them. So it's really, to me, success is doing work that I find meaningful and actually having a deep human impact, which is something I didn't always feel when I was, working in corporate. So that's really what it is, and having the lifestyle I want. And there's a spiritual element to it too for me.
Nice.
Yeah. Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, so that's really cool because it looks like your vision and success actually line up really well for you. So that's going to be really exciting to kind of see over the next couple of years. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. Me
Nice.
too.
And how can people either learn more about you? Where can they connect with you? I think you mentioned a platform earlier.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's a little bit of an experimental platform for me. And I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, the best place is probably LinkedIn just to connect with me. It's how we met. And I also have an Instagram account, Onder, Ph.D. And I actually publish on Medium as well. And if somebody really wants to be connected with me, I would recommend that they email me directly or ask to sign up for my newsletter, because I do write quite a bit on Medium.
Nice. What's your email address? They can email you directly.
It's info, INFO, at the Clairvoyage, LeClairvoyage.com.
I totally messed up the name in the beginning.
Oh, it's fine.
You said it all fancy.
It is. I just had to have it. I came up with it very spontaneously. So, yeah, it's not easily pronounceable. I recognize that.
Well, that's because it's fancy. When it sounds like really, really like it sounds. I don't know. It has a really nice ring to it, and it says a lot in that one word, especially like different ways you say it. So that's really cool.
It's French. I came up with it on my travel sabbatical.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because when I first saw it, I thought it was like clairvoyance, like being able to have clarity. And your girl was like, "Oh, is she like a medium or something?" But that's kind of cool.
I know. To be honest, I have no background in that kind of spiritual, practice or anything. And literally, I did come up with the name of the business in a vision, basically.
Wow.
Like intentional vision, but so it wasn't like super woo-woo, but
Yeah.
it's just very funny because I have these sides to me, and I think a lot of people feel this way now. Of like, yeah, I have this like very right or left-brained, like consulting, analytical mind, and then there's this spiritual element to integrate into that. And how do those two things play off and support each other?
That's actually a really, really interesting point. For coaching, either connecting using marketing, which brain do you find that you more align with when you're trying to connect with your audience?
Right brained all the way.
Right brain?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Because you're saying you're left brain or whatever, so I was like, whoa, so you can control?
No, so I don't know how other people feel about this. I feel like I've been very hardcore trained left brain, and I'm actually more of a right brain person. So
Mm.
a lot of my journey has been understanding how those two things like connect.
Uh,
Yeah.
which one do you think is not more important, but which one do you do first? Do you add a new skill, or do you remove a skill that's no longer helping you?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. Um, you and I'm going to answer this actually from a little bit from a coaching lens of usually the way it's worked for me and how I've seen it work with other clients is they're able to see, or I'm able to see the block.
Mm.
Like, so there's an ability to be very analytical and evaluate everything, right? And that's really helpful in some circumstances. As an entrepreneur, it's not. It's not that helpful to be that so analytical sometimes because you have to be action oriented. And so recognizing the skill set that's no longer serving you, and then being able to build the muscle of the new one. So usually that's the order that I've seen it happen.
Mm. Yeah, that's always like a thing for me, because since I'm like very, very direct, whenever I make a video,
Mhm.
I don't tell enough stories. I don't, connect enough, because I'm just like, here's a point, boom. Here's a point, boom, like bullet points. So
I
it's
love
always, it's always fun. But yeah,
that.
I think, do they talk about that in the story brand book that you're reading, or?
Being direct or
Well, no,
telling.
but telling more stories inside your content and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like everything's a story, which is true. But
Do they give you examples of how to start using stories inside of your everyday words, or no?
um, no. So it's not. At least I haven't gotten to that part. It's more around the story of your brand, right? Like, so it's telling the story of your brand. But I imagine there's books on being able to tell stories in a versatile way.
Yeah.
And I would be very interested if you find one of those because it's a skill that I
Yeah,
want to do.
because I have like clients, right, who they just follow like a simple video template I give them, but they can add the stories in and connect, and they get like 11,000, 12,000 views. Versus there are other people who are more like me, where it's like very, very direct, kind of short, having trouble like connecting, even though like it's the same information. And
Yeah.
it's just so funny to be able to see like how the two brains work together and how you start building off of that. It's interesting. Cool.
Right.
Um, you know, I I really appreciate your time today. It was really fun having this conversation. I know you're used to a longer format, but I think this is great for LinkedIn and great for YouTube. Just the right amount of time.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you for picking my brain, and it was awesome to share with you and get to learn a little bit about you as well.
Excellent. And for those watching, if you want to go and join a community where people are improving themselves every day and helping others do the same, I recommend that you go and join our community. It's basically a mastermind where we're plugging in together and improving ourselves every single day, because you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So plug in. Cannot wait to see you inside the community and help you guys out. If that is what you're interested in, go ahead and click on the link either above or below the video, and I cannot wait to see you inside the community. Have a great day, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so other people can get some value as well. Talk to you soon, and we're done recording in 3 and 2 and